Hey, are you interested in unknown World War II battles? Well, then you've come at the right place. Here, in these trenches, Dutch soldiers desperately tried to fight off the invading Germans in May 1940. In this video, I'm going to talk about a battle even the famous World War II week by week channel ignored. Hey, welcome back regular viewers, and I'm so excited to announce you that this video is part of a YouTuber collaboration series where history YouTubers combine their efforts to make an interesting video series for you. And the theme of this collaboration is homecoming, and it's all about local history. And if you know me, you know that I am all about local history and visiting historical places. Now, if you don't know me, and if you happen to stumble upon this channel via the playlist, welcome to IJssel. My name is Stefan. I'm a history teacher from the Netherlands, and I actually teach history on a school a couple of kilometers down the road. And I'm all about making history videos, both at home and on location. Now, if you find that interesting as well, then please consider subscribing, and if you do so, also hit that notification bell so you become part of the hustle. Just like at the beginning of the First World War, the Netherlands was neutral. Now, most people here in the Netherlands, they thought that their country would be safe in case of another war and that we would remain unaffected. However, Dutch Supreme Commander Reinders, he thought differently. He thought that the Netherlands would not be so lucky this time if another war would break out. Years of budget cuts that were the result of the financial crisis that hit the Netherlands hard in the 1930s resulted into the fact that the army was in bad shape. There was a lack of officers, trained men, and material. General Reinders, he proposed some draconic plans to reform the army and also purchase artillery, anti-tank guns, anti-aircraft guns, tanks and panzer wagons. On the 28th of August 1939, actually a few days before the outbreak of the Second World War, the Dutch army mobilized. Now, already from the get-go, General Reinders got into fierce discussions with the Dutch Ministry of Defense. See, there were 3 lines to be reinforced. However, there were not enough means to do so. In January 1940, General Reinders resigned and was replaced by General Winkelman. Winkelman chose the Grebbe Line as the main line of defense, and the IJssel Line had to delay the enemy in case of a German invasion. The area in front of the Grebbe Line was inundated, it means flooded. However, the Grebbeberg, berg means mountain in Dutch, is higher ground. So Winkelman expected that if the Germans would perform a land invasion, the biggest clash would come here, at the Grebbeberg. From the time of mobilization till the time of the actual outbreak of war, we were mostly digging trenches, and there was barely any time for proper training. Major Landstaat, who was stationed here at the Grebbeberg, he said that if the Germans would come, he expected his men to hold out till the last man and the last bullet. On the early morning of the 10th of May, the German invasion of the Netherlands began. The first German troops that crossed the Dutch border were actually German troops in disguise. They had a mission. They had to go to the IJssel Line and dismantle the bombs underneath the bridges. However, in most cases, these patrols were intercepted by Dutch border guards. In a few cases, the German patrols managed to get through, only to see the bridges blown up in front of them. In the meanwhile, the German troops invaded from the north and via the south, and they advanced practically unopposed. The Germans carried out bombing attacks on strategic locations, and German paratroopers were dropped near the Dutch cities of Dordrecht, Rotterdam and Den Haag. The Germans, they broke through the IJssel Line, and the Dutch troops retreated to the Grebbe Line. Now imagine that you are a Dutch soldier and you're stationed here in this trench, and you know that you're gonna be next. Till the very last moment, Dutch soldiers were trying to improve their positions by laying telephone cables and also cutting down trees to make a clear line of fire. Also, the animals from the nearby zoo were shot. The Dutch didn't want to take the risk that these animals would escape and endanger the own troops. On the 11th of May 1940, the Battle of the Grebbeberg started. With the help of SS troops, the outposts were overrun. Then the Germans attacked the front line. A Dutch soldier who managed to shoot down a German, he wrote the following: "A liaison officer came to us and said, 'We will hold till the last man.' But we had no food nor drinking water. After the white flag was raised on the right section where Lieutenant Niemandsverdriet was stationed, the situation became critical, because then the Germans stormed forward from that direction. We couldn't stop them. If you shot one, another one moved forward. They just kept running. I didn't worry about what I did. You had to act, because else you were gone. The German that moved forward knew he was fired upon. He wanted that, because he kept on going. One iconic moment that proved how chaotic the communication at the side of the defenders was when Dutch Major Giacometti, who previously had served in the Royal Netherlands East Indies Army, initiated a counter-attack. He thought that only a very few German units had pushed through the front line. So therefore, he drew his sword and he said, "We shall push them out and do this with the blank sable." And he pushed forward. His attack first came under fire by fellow troops who weren't aware of the counterattack, and then they came under enemy fire. Major Giacometti was killed in action, and the surviving soldiers retreated. Now, Dutch High Command knew a proper counterattack had to be undertaken, or else the Grebbeberg was lost. The situation looked grim, and Dutch High Command now initiated a counter-attack. However, this attack was doomed from the start, because first of all, there was a lack of men, and the men that were available were fairly old, in their 30s, not the best men to perform a counter-attack with. Also, there was a lack of proper maps. Reluctantly, the Dutch troops carried out the counterattack, and they ran into SS troops. After some skirmishes, the Dutch retreated, and this retreat became more of a rout. The Grebbeberg had fallen, although not quite. There, at a pavilion near the zoo, Major Landsat was located, and they kept holding off the German troops. Major Landsat even operated the machine gun himself on several occasions. His orders were to stand firm behind the rubble. But then, on the 13th of May, the ammunition was gone. He summoned his men and said, "You have fought like heroes. Thank you." And he ordered them to retreat. He lived up to his own words, fighting till the last man, because he stayed behind, and his remains were found after the battle. For this he was decorated with the Military Order of William, the highest decoration in the Netherlands. The remaining defenders, they pulled back to the New Holland waterline, but things looked very grim since the New Holland waterline was not properly prepared for any defense. It never came to an armed clash at this line, because the German army got stuck at Rotterdam, and thus the Dutch command from Rotterdam received a note from the German army to surrender the city or face demolition by bombing. The Dutch were willing to give up the city, and they asked for a new signed request. However, German bombing planes were already in the sky. Flares should have been fired, but it didn't happen. And thus, the city center of Rotterdam was bombed flat. The following day, on the 15th of May, the Dutch unconditionally surrendered. The Battle of the Netherlands was over. A big thanks to my patrons, and especially Henry Clarkson, Michael Nosa, Colin Castleman, and the President. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to support me, please go to my Patreon page. The links are in the description. Now, if you want to know more about the Battle of the Netherlands, you want to have the full story, I also made a video about that. You can click right here. Don't forget to check out the other amazing videos in this playlist. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. En tot de volgende keer. Maar weer.